fear. We're proud to feature cutting-edge programs like The Christopher Everard Show, The Covert Report with Susan Lindauer, Enemy Within Radio with Tom Barnes, Freaky Friday with The Woo Crew, The Gematria Effect with Zachary Hubbard, America's Evil Genius with Travis Cook, Phoenix Rising Radio with Phoenix, Quantum Connections with Lucky, and dozens more. Did you know you can listen from any telephone by dialing 641-793-7117 or call into your favorite show toll free at 833-TFR Live. Uncensored talk and news you won't hear in the mainstream media. Truth Frequency Radio, your protection from deception.
Keeping an eye on the virus. I'm Lisa Lacera, Fox News. The State Department says it's watching the health of hundreds of Americans that were evacuated from a ship off the coast of Japan due to fears of the coronavirus.
Many of the more than 300 people who were flown back over the weekend are currently quarantined at military bases in California and Texas. They were closely monitored in flight, but once back on U.S. soil, Dr. Robert Kadlik of Health and Human Services says physicians took a closer look.
We went more extensive medical assessment as well as a questionnaire concerning
I got my goggles, I got my Clorox wipes.
Some of those patients were found to be more susceptible to the virus and were moved to the University of Nebraska's medical facility to be further monitored.
Fox's Gernal Scott. Officials in China say 1,868 people have died from the virus there, with over 72,000 now infected. The Democratic candidates for president campaigning in the West ahead of the Nevada caucuses Saturday. Senator Elizabeth Warren in Henderson, Nevada, saying billionaires should not be able to call the shots in an election.
Just because you can make big campaign contributions and hire lots of lobbyists, that your voice shouldn't be any louder than anyone else's in a democracy.
Former Vice President Joe Biden in Reno going after Bernie Sanders' record on gun control.
One of the guys running in this party voted for that 5 times against background checks. I don't quite get it.
Bernie Sanders in California taking shots at former New York Mayor Mike Bloomberg.
Now, Mr. Bloomberg, like anybody else, has a right to run for president. He does not have a right to buy the presidency.
The Bloomberg campaign has told Fox News he will be on the debate stage in Las Vegas if he qualifies. He's one poll shy of making the cut. America's listening to Fox News. A ban on assault-style weapons has
Wherever you are, make it Truth Frequency Radio.
Astronauts to the moon.
10, 9, ignition sequence start. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Not to get off track here, but I feel like we're in the Truman Show, and we're in a snow globe, and they just shook it up.
Welcome to reality.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to your protection from deception right here at truthfrequencyradio.com. Break out the party balloons because you are tuned in to the current, reigning, defending, and unarguably the number one show on Truth Frequency Radio on Monday nights between 6 and 8 p.m. Pacific, 9 to 11 Eastern. That show is Jeranism Monday Night Raw, and it starts right about now. I'm your host, Jaron from Jeranism, and we have a very special treat. That special treat is another co-host this evening. So we've got Dave Weiss first, the man with the plan. Dave, how are you, my friend?
Hello. Doing great. What's going on, man?
Nothing. Just here for another show. Happy that we are doing it. I didn't have internet for a short time before the show, so I was stressing a little bit. But it looks like it's up. Looks like we're running. Looks like everything's going well. We also have a co-host with us who's welcome anytime. I love to hear from him, and that is Jason Lingman from the Secrets of Saturn podcast and Crow 777 Radio. Jason, how are you, my friend?
I'm awesome, guys. Great to be back with you again.
Yeah, it's fun. Anytime. It's definitely a good time. And we're going to be having a special guest, but is he joining us yet?
I've already got him added, so whenever we want to get there, we are good to go. And he is, of course, the great Baldini. He's someone who's guested with us on Crow 777 Radio a few times, and we've got an interesting thing to talk about when we get there.
Let's do it. Let's go ahead and bring him on. Unless, Dave, you want to start with anything else? You want to get right to the great Baldini?
Yeah, let's get to the great Baldini. He's got an interesting project he wants to talk about, so let's do it.
All right, let's bring him on, Jason. Yeah, you go ahead and introduce him, since I only know from him from your show. I've never talked to him myself.
So if anybody's not familiar with the great Baldini, he's a very, very nice fellow, very intelligent. He's done a lot of interesting things in his life, and we originally brought him on to talk about some cybersecurity stuff that he had done in his past. He's very well acquainted with a lot of technology issues and all that, so we had some really good chats. He guested multiple times with us on our TFR show, and has also joined Wayne and myself on the weekly live streams I started doing a few weeks back. So looks like he's on here with us. The great Baldini, are you here?
I am here. Can you hear
awesome.
me? Can you hear me now?
Can you hear me now? We can hear you great. Thanks for joining the show. Nice to hear from you.
Thanks for having me. Glad to be here.
Awesome.
So do you want to give a brief rundown on the project you've been doing on we got to come up with a good way I can pitch this to folks, like in a one sentence. I mean, I know the general gist of what you're doing, but it's presenting as much factual data as you can, mostly from a psychological perspective, but also a personality perspective on what makes the truther, if you want to use that word, like the person who starts looking into higher-minded concepts, what makes them tick? What makes them want to start looking at these things? And what comparisons and contrasting notions do we have in the psychological makeup and the personality? But you could probably explain that better than that mouthful I just spewed out.
Well, sure. I mean, those of us who have fallen down the rabbit hole, so to speak, I think many people have a similar reaction at first, which is we kind of go kicking and screaming a little bit. We get interested in it, and then once we realize that the world is not what we first thought it was, and then everything kind of opens up and we realize that we have to question everything. And once that happens, our worldview changes, and people often have a similar reaction. The first one is to, they often go through a little bit of excitement at first. They start wanting to tell everybody, and then they realize that may not be a good idea. A lot of people encounter pushback. They want to tell everybody that they know, and they find out that they get some less than intended consequences with that. Then, so just sort of like when somebody, finds Jesus or something, they want to go tell everybody and convert everybody. And it really makes it more difficult. And then they kind of seem to go through the stages of grief a little bit. The worldview that they had has changed entirely. And now everything that you thought was real, you find out isn't. So there's a couple of components to this, which is the first is what differentiates those who go looking for truth and those who don't. And there's a lot of conversations that kind of happen on the sideline, and people have this, one of the reactions that I see is that once people kind of get this new view, then they begin to look at those, they start calling them sheeple or globetards or, right? They're kind of having this attitude, right, that they know more now, and they have, kind of a condescending view toward those who haven't, seen the light. So that often creates a little bit of friction as well. And so there's sometimes damage to relationships. I hear a lot of these stories. And so there's this idea of these conversations happen, like what causes a person differentiates between those who do go looking for truth or the truther and those who don't. Often there's the topic of intellect comes up, right? That it does seem to be that people often, it's not always the case. And again, sweeping generalities are difficult to use, but it does seem that those who explore this a little more deeply, for example, in the in the geometric model, if you're looking at the flat Earth or the round ball, right, it does seem that those who really really grab onto the flat Earth model, they have to learn both, right? When you study it and you get deeply into it, you start learning everything you can about the physics of it, about light propagation, about diffraction limitation. You begin to learn the physics of the vacuum of space and the heliocentric model. So most people who are really into it know the heliocentric model far better than those who are just they're just regurgitating what they learned in school, and so they believe that the entire body of science is behind them. So you get this paradigm, right, where so people think that there's like intellect involved, that they're smarter than other people, or that people who just don't get it. But that's not necessarily true. I know some really, really bright people who are clinging very hard onto not just the globe model, but the entire mainstream narrative, right, from top down. And so they consider anybody who has crossed beyond the veil like we have to be nuts. And so, and then there's a number of people, right, who I've come to know through the Crow 777 Radio and some of the forums and the online group there, who have just started looking into this, and they feel very much alone, and everybody thinks that they're crazy, right? And so they kind of need a little bit of encouragement going on. So as we begin to look at this, and I started talking to Wayne McCrory a little bit, and we were kind of going through this and saying what does differentiate this thing. Well, way back in my previous life, I did some, as Jason mentioned, I did some data analytics and a lot of information technology stuff, and now I work in a field of applied physics, but a lot of interdisciplinary study was involved. So back in the day, one of the things that I was looking at was working for a company that is now pretty much dead, the Tandy Corporation, if you remember Radio Shack. And so they wanted to know more about some customers who were getting specific types of complicated products. And so I developed what I called at the time the chicken principle, which is, why did the chicken cross the road? The answer is, of course, to get to the other side. But my questions were, what motivates the chicken? Who's the chicken dating? What did he have for lunch? What's the weather like? What's the traffic like? And if I could answer all these variety of questions, then I could tell you with much more plausibility why the chicken crossed the road. Well, that same kind of thing is what we would now call metadata. All right, so that they're collecting all this data, and that's the topic of conversation in the first couple episodes that I did with Crow 777, is the amount of data is being collected. Right, all this data is being collected so they can develop real-time models of what you're doing, and this is why you get these ads about things that you just spoke about, in part because they're monitoring everything that you do and say, but also in part because they're developing these data models, and they're able to basically simulate you in real time. So in the conversations with Wayne, I posited the question, what if we could find out not only some of the source, basically the source code of this, what we would call full spectrum programming, and what they're using to convince people, basically to program and brainwash people. But what if we could come up with a way to deprogram them, basically a deprogramming script, if you would. And so the first step in that is to really identify certain traits of people who have, if for lack of a better term, fallen down the rabbit hole. So I started creating some data models and some ideas, and we put out a call, I think the first episode, was it 3 or 5, Jason, of Secrets of Saturday? It was the first of the year, January 1st. We put out a call to participants to, if they would offer up some of their data, and we're not doing anything weird with it. We don't need their mother's maiden name or bank account number or anything, but a few bits of data that I could start putting together some data models with to first begin to identify the types of people who began to go down the rabbit hole, and see if there was any specific characteristics and pattern recognition that I could use to identify that. And then once we got through that, if we could come up with basically a reverse programming script, in other words, a way to identify ways to get people to begin to wake up, if you will, and so we identified a few things that were potentially effective, and so far the initial information, the stuff that we're getting so far is actually really promising. And in fact, so much so that's kind of why I'm here, is to see if we can get other people to join in our project. I am actually now so close that it was really just an informal study to begin with, but now I'm at a place where I think that we're right there on the verge of being able to do really a true double-blind study with a large enough data set that we really can get some empirical data out of it. And I've got a friend of mine with a PhD in statistical analysis, and he has a company that does this exact thing, and he's offered to, in trade, I'm editing a book of his, and he's offered to let me use some of his proprietary algorithms to aggregate some of this data. So that is really the idea, is to try to collect just a few bits of data, and as Jason said, sort of looking at the psychology a little bit of people who have crossed this side of the threshold, and to see if we can not only identify some of those patterns, but find a way that we can help them help others. So more than just going out and activism and flat smacking people, but really use sophisticated and intelligent scientific methods to really help wake people up.
I have a question. What types of data are you looking for? What are the categories?
Sure. Yeah, sure. To begin with, really, David, it's really pretty straightforward, and that is because it's a little bit limited, right? So even psychology generally is not a concrete science, right? It's pretty fluid, and so the first couple of things that in the first round, what I'm looking for is a recent Myers-Briggs personality assessment, which is the 4-letter code, right? So like ENFP and that sort of stuff. And again, it has its inherent limitations. It's based on Jungian types. But a recent Myers-Briggs personality assessment, you can take one for free online. There's a number of different places that you can go. You want one that takes at least like 15 minutes. It's more than 30 questions, and they'll give you a 4-letter score. And if there's sometimes they'll add the percentage values, and that's helpful as well. So we take a look at that.
1 second. The link to the one that Rose recommends that she used to use on her old job, I put that in our Skype chat. So if you guys want to put that in all the places that this is being broadcast to, if folks want to take a look at that, that'll give them a good idea of what we're talking about. And in case anybody wants to know up front about the 4-letter thing, Baldini, what did you say you were?
I'm INTJ. That's how I score, which is intuitive thinking, judgment, and it's not judgmental, but it's a 4-letter score that basically identifies the way that that it doesn't really tell you how you think, but it does help assess the way that you ingest data and the way you process it and the way you look at the world.
So, and I am an ENTJ, and I think you said that was more common for the kind of open-minded folks that go for this sort of higher-mindedness.
And one of the things is that's some of the scores that we're getting. So I don't want to. I'm a little cautionary of giving out what our results are so far, because I don't want to tip the data. So already, like, one of the things is you need clean data, right, to work with, and so I'm a little cautious. I want people to respond fresh, right, and open-minded, and just their first impressions and what they get. Because I already have this, like one of the categories, for example, as I look at who's responding, one of the things I have to filter for and account for is that the people who I'm getting already are going to be people who have, not only consider themselves a truther and would be prone to listen to these types of broadcasts, but also who would respond to a call to action, right? So not everybody would do that. And also kind of be confident enough that they're going to trust somebody with a little bit of their information. So I have to kind of account for those things already. And so I don't want to give away too much, but I would say that interestingly enough, while intuitive thinkers, and that's 2 of the categories in the Myers-Briggs assessment, represent an aggregate total less than 3% of the total population. Right now, they're representing more than 85% of our respondents. So certainly that that's a statistically relevant and quite an outlying, more than an anomaly, right? So that's why I say that the initial data that we're getting is very promising, and so that's the first thing is a recent Myers-Briggs test score. Again, you can take one for free, and so that's one aspect of it. So we're also I'm including, and here's a little bit of the woo aspect, including sun signs. So your date of birth, and again, we promise we're not going to use this data against you or give it away to anybody. In fact, once I scrape the data for the information, I'm actually separating the person from their data such that it's actually going to represent a true double-blind study, and it also protects people's data. So we don't want to have that there's not much chance.
Another question: do you take into account things like dietary habits and vaccines and stuff like that?
Yep, there's going to be a second round, right? So the first thing is to sort of aggregate and group this stuff. So the first things we're looking for, David, is really just the straightforward things. And here's kind of where I'm going for is the the Myers-Briggs assessment, your sun sign, basically the date of birth and location. And then also what I'm asking for is a brief synopsis of what led you down the rabbit hole. And what this does is it not only gives me that information, but there's a lot of information I can get by the way people tell me their story, right? The things that they find, the way they prioritize things, the way that they write to me, how much they're willing to offer those. There's a lot of stuff that I can glean out of that. So that's really the first round. It's pretty straightforward. The second round is going to include things, including blood type, vaccine history, and that sort of stuff. So we are going to include those things, but the first round has to do much more with the psychology than the physical.
Where do people sign up to become test subjects?
Sure. Test subjects, my guinea pigs. Sure. You can just send me an email, and if you would spam this into the to the appropriate chats. Email address is unintended.consequences3 unintended.consequences3@gmail.com. And that's also, so one of the things that's come out of this already is that in conversations with and in reading some of these stories, I had been, after being a guest on both Secrets of Saturn and Crow 777, as well as Rogue Ways, and as far as I can tell, and a couple other podcasts, people have asked, for me to do a podcast. They were interested in some stuff, and I felt like I didn't want to sort of compete with any of the other. I wanted to have something relevant to say if I was going to do it, and I don't mind contributing, things, and I didn't feel like it was necessary really for me to go searching down the rabbit holes. We got a lot of people doing that. I can do it kind of as well as anybody, but it didn't seem like it was necessary for another voice. But what I did find is that in understanding the people's stories and how similar a lot of people's emotional response to this and how it altered their life, I am starting a new podcast, in fact, the 1st of March, with the YouTube channel Unintended Consequences, to discuss not only some of these stories, but to really also kind of release some of this data as it comes out. So if you want to participate, unintended.consequences3@gmail.com, and I'm the Great Baldini, and that's what we're looking for. Just send me a note, and we'll kind of talk you through it. But again, just looking for a brief synopsis of your background, your history, kind of what led you into this. What was the first thing? Was it 9/11? Was it the flat Earth?
Is it true that you're paying $500 a head?
That is not true.
It's not true. Okay, that's just a rumor.
But if you want to pay $500 to further our goals, that would be super terrific. We'd love that. Yeah.
That would be true. All right.
Yeah. You have any other questions?
I just want to make sure we have it right. So it's unintended.consequences3@gmail.com.
That is correct.
Okay. I believe if I spelled it correctly, it is being spammed here in all the chats.
Outstanding. So I really appreciate the opportunity to talk about it. And again, I'm so close to having a significantly, statistically significant data set that where I can actually do a real study. And so my intention is not to, somebody suggested that I get involved with a university. It's not my intention. We're not out to to publish the data publicly. What I want to do is to help our community and to see if we can, again, not only help people understand, but again, better identify who is most likely to be a truther, if you will, but also to see if we really can come up with a way to, for example, one of the things that we've come up with is using low impact emotional things to start with. For example, using targeted things that are verifiable, but don't have any emotional load. For example, the Gulf of Tonkin incident, right, or Operation Northwoods. These things typically don't have direct emotional consequences for people, and so you're not causing a great deal of cognitive dissonance when they're confronted with this. But it does give people the opportunity to see that their government, for example, is lying to them, and this type of shenanigans do go on in a acknowledged, verifiable, tinfoil hat sort of way, and that sort of opens the door to allow you to give them more information and to get them inquisitive, right? So it's these sorts of things, and so again, sort of using some of the similar techniques that are being used against us, right? So one of the things that I discovered early on is that the same sorts of people that are suggestive, that respond to suggestibility, for example, those who can be hypnotized easily, right? They respond, and there's about 20% who are very easily hypnotized, and about 20% who are very difficult to be hypnotized. And right in the middle, that remaining 60%, it kind of falls along your standard Pareto bell curve, right? That's sort of that bell curve. And it is this suggestibility in our notion to trust others, and to accept things at face value, that allows us to be basically programmed, hypnotized, if you will. And they start very early. They start from before grade school, in all of the, not only the globe, but in all of the social strata. They present an idea to us in such a way that we accept it at face value, and we accept the worldview that they give us. So once we kind of see the way that they do it, I'm fairly cautiously optimistic, I think, that we'll find some chinks in this such that we can undo some of it and give people an opportunity to not only better understand themselves, but to identify others that they can maybe help wake up.
Now, I've taken that Myers-Briggs test before in the past. I can't recall what my results were or what my 4 letters were. But what should Dave Weiss do? Because he took the test and it came back with only 3 letters, JEW.
Yeah, I know.
So I'm not sure if you should read
I think there's a subcategory you can put in there as JEWS, and I understand that he's a junicorn, so that makes him fairly low representation statistically. So he's a statistical outlier, and so he'd be an interesting study, I think, Jaron. Yeah, for sure.
Hey, question for you: when did you discover the globe lie? The fact that I'm sure you've been into the truth for a long time, but how long ago did you discover the globe lie?
It was in late 2014. So I think it was October, November.
Did you have we're going to commercial in a second. Did you have your nickname before then? Were you always the Great Baldini?
For like 20 plus years, yeah.
Yeah, so I know that's related to your follicle count, not the shape of the Earth. But do you find a conflict being a flat earther and being called the Great Baldini?
No, not at all. I didn't actually associate the two until you did just now, because it's
right, now you're forever associated. Maybe as Bob suggested in the chat, the Great Plaindini.
Oh, that's pretty good. I like it, Bob. Now that's good. Yeah.
Awesome.
Okay, so are you
great? We encourage people to we're always looking for scientific studies. You sound pretty scientific to me, pretty qualified. How much time would this take if someone says they want to do it? How much time would they have to put in, and can they do it all from their laptop?
Hey, do it all from your laptop. Myers-Briggs test takes about 30 minutes, and then however long you want to spend writing to me and telling me your story. Again, it doesn't need to be a novel. Just most people send a couple, 3 paragraphs at the most, and then the follow-up questions will be pretty brief. So I mean, take an hour of your time. That's it.
Easy.
Nothing else is required from you. Yeah. And if you're willing to have me do some follow-up questions, and then again with the podcast coming up, I'll probably do a few interviews with people and talk to them about their experience. So that's kind of going to be included with that. But yeah, it's basically the whole thing is pretty informal generally, but I am using scientific methods. Again, it doesn't comport to the scientific method because there's not an independent variable, right? It's not a material science, but it is, it does include psychology. So anyway, yeah, thanks a bunch, and I get people to sign up.
All right, appreciate it. Great Baldini, everyone, and again, we'll spam that email address so you can join this online test. So we'll be right back for Jeranism Monday Night Raw.
It's amazing how people have been raving about iAlife all over Facebook. They've been posting their testimonials just because they want to get the word out because it's worked so well for them. If you're not familiar with iAlife, it's a 99% pure CBD oil, but the secret is the synergy between the hemp and the ayahuasca vine, the non-psychoactive component of the ayahuasca tea. We recently received an email from a wife whose husband has Parkinson's. For the first time, he's been able to sleep through the entire night. Another customer reported that they're no longer using NSAIDs because their tennis elbow has been relieved with iAlife. The reports have been phenomenal and much more than we ever expected. Everyone should have access to this. That's why if you head on over to iAlife.com right now and use coupon code TFR, we'll give you $5 towards your order. And we'll even ship it worldwide. That's iAlife.com, AYALife.com.
Hey folks, guess what the #1 phrase that Life Change Tea receives by email? You ready? We love this tea. We love this tea. Time after time, week after week, we love this tea. Life Change Tea gives you more energy, a beautiful cleansing, and fulfills its slogan perfectly. The tea that makes you go. So if you want to be on your health game, log on to getthetea.com and order Life Change Super Strength Tea. Packages come in a 1-month supply, and when you brew this stuff, wait until you see the results. Aren't we all about the results? And with a lot of people's health struggling, we can use a little bit of help. Doctors will tell you disease starts in the gut. So log on to getthetea.com. That's getthetea.com. Be our next email saying, I love this tea. I love this tea. Get the tea at getthetea.com. Helping America one tea bag at a time.
Fear is the mind killer. Fear is the little death. This is Uncle Walt from the Ironworks. Josh, Corey, and I have chosen to look at life with no fear. No fear of the unknown. No fear of questions about the supposedly well-known. No fear of ridicule for thinking outside the familiar fool's lines. No fear of the boot on the neck of those refusing the party line. No fear of taking on those so convinced of their beliefs they would sooner drink the Kool-Aid than believe they've been fools made. In this world filled with me too, cattle think, can truth's protective layers be peeled back to show the tender, juicy pink? Are we all just grist for the mill? Souls sold against our will, or is that just how it feels? When you're filled to the rim with TV-alities so fear-filled and grim, break clear of the fear. Right here, Tuesdays and Fridays at 2 a.m. on TFR. Josh and I and you will hammer out the impurities of technology-driven groupthink, fold in a dash of logic, and quench it all with a bit of absurdity. The Ironworks. Break clear of the fear.
No hate, no hype, no fear. We are TFR. Your protection from deception.
All right, welcome back. You're listening to Jeranism Monday Night Raw. Thank you guys for joining us for episode number 198. Can you believe it? That is pretty impressive number. And we've got a few more shows till number 200. 200 should be fun. Did get a super chat from Deliberate Creation for $2, says supporting what I love. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. And that was the great Baldini who was on. And I recommend to anybody, if they have the time and want to take the Myers-Briggs test and then send that in, like he said, with a few paragraphs about what led you to be one of these people. Like he says, what differentiates those of us who have basically gone seeking for the real truth, removing ourselves from the matrix, if you want to call it that, stepping away from the world as presented. I don't know. To me, I think it comes down to having questions and not being satisfied with the answers. And then from there, the ability to admit that we're not happy with the answers. I think that's tough for people to do.
Yeah. What about like your fluoride intake? Somebody that has questions and isn't satisfied with the answers, but one of them consumes 5 times the amount of fluoride than the other person does. You think that makes a difference?
Certainly can make you stuck in the or just satisfied with the mainstream answers. And for me, I think it has a lot to do with the amount of time you have, because I've said it before. I mean, when I used to work a slave job and I was store manager for a drugstore, I worked 70 or 75 hours a week, and even my time off of work was consumed with answering phone calls from work. Maybe that was just me because I was a store manager with some 95 employees, including an entire pharmacy. So it was just constant. And when I got home, I barely had time to make dinner and hit the couch for 15 or 20 minutes before I fell asleep, and then had to do it all over again the next day. So once you get away from that and you're able to spend some time doing your own research, reading, then from there, it just became an awakening experience. So I don't know if everybody else has kind of gone through that, or if a lot of.
And I've always said that people that don't have the time to look and just live in that unfulfilled question and not satisfied with the answers is one of the major reasons for depression. And then rather than figure out what's bothering you, Neo. They just give you a drug filled with fluoride to just dull your senses and make you stop questioning things. It's an insane world we live in.
This is a huge topic we could get into, really. Think about this. Most people have to work some sort of more than likely dead-end job. I mean, I'm sure some folks are executives or have some kind of high-end thing going on. But think about how most people are living month to month. That is the vast majority of people. And when you're just burned out, and I did it too, I was a manager for, and I don't have a problem saying it, I used to work for Guitar Center for a long time. I was the number 2 manager at the Baton Rouge store, and then I became what's called a GC Pro, which was the professional division. And I just didn't have time for anything, because if I wasn't doing store-related stuff, I was writing bloody reports,
right,
or answering phone calls. Like, hey, we don't know how to do this, and Jason knows how to do everything. Call him, like that. It's right. That kind of thing, and I think so many of us are in that trap.
And then you only have, I was in the same world, and then you feel like you've got maybe a half hour of free time a day. By the time you get home, you get your dinner on the table, you're getting everything ready, and that half hour I would spend usually, if anything, watching the news. And the news, propaganda.
I'm so sorry.
Oh man, it was so devastating. But that's all I had time for, and it was really, and that's the world that I lived in, and I didn't have any reason to question it. And I think that that's by design, and that's why they get you caught up with this credit card debt. Because I just saw a report today that the average person is in like $9,000 or something worth of credit card debt. And even if you're paying just the minimum, you're paying an extra like $1,000 or $2,000 a year, and that doesn't even bring that balance down. So people are just so caught up in that world of work. They have payments, and like you said, I mean, what percentage of people do you think live on a month-to-month basis? It's a huge amount. There's not a lot of people with savings.
Yeah.
So and that just creates that problem. And it wasn't until I stepped away from that and said, I want to work for myself. I want to run this bookstore. I've talked about it a million times. And once we got the bookstore set up, of course, the thing I wasn't thinking about is how do you bring customers? But I just found myself in front of a computer with a lot of time and said, okay, let me start researching. Let me start reading. And the more I read and the more I researched, the more questions I had. And the more I looked, the more I wasn't happy with the answers I was getting. So that began it all. And I don't know if it takes, this is why I always ask people to talk to other people, mention it to other people. You can call it flat smack if you will, but I just think it's planting the seed, because, again, it took one of my buddies talking to me about 9/11, and I fired back to him, don't ever talk to me again. Why would you ever bring that up? That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. But it sticks in your mind, and then it was months later or even years later, I don't recall exactly, that I had time in front of the computer. It's like, oh, yeah, what did he say about that? Let me kind of start doing some research on it. And the more I researched it, well, then it didn't take very much time at all till you realize there's some glaring problems.
Oh yeah, that's kind of the obvious one right off the bat. If anybody wants to wake anybody up, that's a great one. But the problem is, if they're completely locked into the mindset, it's hard to get them to look at anything. But here's the thing: I think that they've got the hang of this system, so they're so good at it now that they just get everybody so focused on just trying to survive. So many people. Right. That they don't really have time to think about anything else, and even if they do, it's probably more of a passing fancy thing. And even if you get a little ways up the ladder, let's say you're like an executive who's making 6 figures a year or something like that, you are so invested in that life that you want to keep it. You like your nice house, your nice car, or whatever you've got, like all those things.
Well, you almost need to keep going in that because
you have to, because you get so invested in it, like
right.
Physically, financially, and emotionally. Like, this is my life.
Right.
Why I think people were killing themselves in 1929 when they lost everything, when they were freaking millionaires in the 1920s, not too long before.
Yeah, the thought of somebody who's making, like you said, $100,000 a year, $90,000 a year, the thought of them going back to having to find a job at making $10 or $20 an hour is enough to make them sick, right? I mean, it just would make anybody sick. So that's why I think a lot of people just get locked into what they're doing. And I hate to admit it, but again, if somebody would have came to me and told me about Flat Earth, if somebody would have came to me and told me about 9/11 or something like that when I was working my job, I just would have probably answered with that dreaded answer of, what does it matter to me? I still have to work tomorrow. I still have to put food on the plate for my son. I still have to pay my bills. And that's scary to think about, because I know the high percentage of people that are in the same spot I was. And so how do we get them to wake up to this and realize its importance? That's the tough question.
For sure.
David, I was going to say, I don't know that much about your past, but did you have similar experiences going up through the years? Because you're a little older than Jaron and myself.
Little? Oh.
Well, a couple days.
No, I always question stuff. I specifically remember in elementary school, maybe it was even kindergarten, where they brought us out to the recess area and they filled a bucket with water, tied a rope on it, and spun it around and told us that was gravity. And that's why the water stayed in the bucket. And I said, well, wouldn't the water be on the outside of the bucket? And the teacher scratched his chin, and he looked up at the sky, and he looked at me, and he said, you keep asking questions. That's good. And that's it. That's all. I mean, that's all.
You nod your head, David, and say, I will.
And
he's probably a flat earther. You just don't know.
Maybe that's the reason I started asking questions, because he told me to keep asking questions.
And I was the other thing. When I asked questions, I was told, don't ask questions. Or I remember asking questions about the globe and being told, go home, talk to your parents. And you go home and you ask mom or dad, Mom, is it true that we're spinning on this ball? And they say, yeah, scientists have proven that. And you just kind of, oh, well, science has proven it. And you are kind of told that there's no reason to question it. And you just go back to doing what you're told and sitting in the desk and, responding to answers and filling out your multiple choice tests and make sure you get your good grades. So, another super chat from Deliberate Creation who says, content support, $2 sounded kind of pathetic. Here's another 10. Hope this helps. Thank you so much. It all helps. I really, really do appreciate it. Support what you like they say. Support what you like. That was definitely a great, I think it's a great idea by Great Baldini. I hope people reach out to him. I think I'm going to do it just because I want to take that test again and haven't taken it in a while, see what it says, and then send him kind of a little bit of my story. Other than that, it's been a fun week. Dave, you were on with the Secrets of Saturn podcast with Jason and Crow on Sunday.
I wasn't I?
You were.
Yeah, it was an awesome show, and Globebusters was great on Sunday. Did you enjoy Taboo? Taboo Conspiracy, Ben's 15-minute little presentation. It was freaking awesome.
Amazing, yes.
Really good.
That may or may not be featured tomorrow on the app. Ben has a new video on his channel.
Great. There was a Thursday interview I did with Life is Short that I thought was really good. We had a great Friday lounge. What else happened? Eddie Bravo shouted out Nathan Thompson in Flat Earth Debates. Did you hear that, Dave?
Oh, yep, I did.
Yeah, so all kinds of good stuff going on, and more good stuff coming this week. I'm going to be doing a interview with the Dr. Ferrari, Rodrigo Ferrari Nunez. He's going to be going through his Space Crack magazine, which is fun. It's like a 30-page PDF that he wants to start putting out that's called Space Crack, that just kind of goes through the drug that people are on. What else did I see in the news today? I saw that the SpaceX lander missed the boat today, Dave, and that's very brilliant of them to not make sure it doesn't land every time. You got to have it land in the water occasionally so that people see this is real.
I didn't even know there was a launch.
No, I don't pay attention to that either. I just saw it in the news that it failed, and of course the camera view is just of the boat supposedly out in the ocean, if you want to believe that there's a boat out there, and you can't see anything because it supposedly lands off in the water. But they won't have it miss on land. Just have it missed in the water. It's very easy to convince people that this is going on.
Did the camera filming the landing still go out due to the vibrations?
No.
Or did it miss by like miles?
I don't think it missed by miles. I think they say it missed closely, but yeah, I don't think you could see anything in the view. So it missed by more than the camera angle. But no, it did not go out. Even though they tell us that it goes out because of the curvature of the Earth. Oh, boy, too much.
It'd be amusing if they had the camera far enough away that it should have been over the curve of the Earth.
Yeah. So people can believe that if they want. I also saw a report from NASA that they're going to start accepting astronaut applications. Dave, you should get in there.
I think I'm too old.
No, they have that woman that's like 65. She goes through all the different mocks. She does just fine.
I actually would think about it, but the G-forces would kill any human being if it was real, so I'm not going.
Right. I don't want to be launched out into the water, so I prefer not. Commercial sound and video sent in 2233. Thank you very much. He says FEIC 2020 ? Yeah, there's a lot of talk about it. I just talked to the guy who's thinking of running it this year, or I'm going to talk to him. He texted me. So, Dave, as far as you know, that is the plan. It should be in Vegas this year, correct?
That's what I heard.
So that's the rumor. We don't have anything exact yet, or dates, or times, or locations other than city, but that should be coming. So stay tuned to all the channels out there, and I'm sure they will let you know as soon as we know, but we don't know anything for now. So what else? I did see. Oh no, that's just something else. Somebody told me the other day that if you're 40 years old, you've lived 480 months. Doesn't that sound like far too few? I don't know. I heard the other day. I was like, wait a second, 480 months. That's it? It's not much. Michelle Gentz in the house. She says, I've been a ghost, but here's some debt notes to show you I still support you. You're amazing, Jaron. Going to do another Sacramento meetup in May. Details to follow at a later date. Great. And I was also talking to Nathan Thompson, and I think we're going to do some stuff, some street interviews soon, whether that's in San Francisco or something. I don't know when we're going to do it, but soon, and he wants to do a meetup at the same time. So pay attention to this channel, and we will let you know if we're going to do another meetup soon. And then, as she just said, Sacramento meetup in May. Details.
Did you see the article about the guy that walked across Antarctica laughing?
What, did he go to the 90 and turn around and come right back again?
I did it. So you know that they're recycling their poop on the ISS and eating it, right? You've heard that.
I've heard that, yes. I know they're making
biscuits out of it, or what?
So this article says the first person to cross Antarctica alone and unaided says he pooped his pants less than halfway through and had to continue using the same underwear for 38 days.
Why, he didn't bring any changes of underwear?
And
oh god,
if he discarded the underwear, I guess he gets fined $1 million.
How would they know?
Oh god, you could just bury it in the snow. So stupid. Dave, you're not buying this shit, are you? Come on.
Pun intended.
By the way, there's something you guys were saying a few minutes ago about the SpaceX and NASA and all that. So they're pushing to go to the moon again, of course. That's all the big announcements.
Of course.
Wouldn't things be happening now very similar to the way it would have been in the 60s with the massive aerospace engineer push? Like, wouldn't they be needing stupid amounts of people to do stupid amounts of things if both SpaceX and NASA are going to other planets, quote unquote, again?
You would think so. I mean, they had to do all these test flights, of course, in 65, 66, 67, right? All the way leading up to it. I guess maybe they just don't need to do that anymore. It's going to be extremely easy. You would think, though. You would certainly think that.
It's easy now. Don't have to worry about them. Their crazy Van Allen bells. We got that covered.
Yeah, no. Dave, do you want to listen to your call now, and then when we get back, we'll talk to Jason about some other topics and then take phone calls after that? Is that what you want to do, or how do you want to do it?
Sure. Whatever works.
All right.
Tee it up.
Yeah, we'll just have it ready here. But again, if people remember, Dave, you want tell the story real quick, Dave. Do we have time? How much time do we have?
Yeah, real quick. I was down in an old age home, and I had a little time to kill. And I asked the nurse if there's anyone over 100 that was very lucid, and they introduced me to Ruth. And I asked if I could interview her about the World's Fair, because I was very interested in people that attended the World's Fair. So I was interviewing her for about 30 minutes around the World's Fair, and I decided to ask her what they taught her in grade school about the Earth. And you guys have all seen it. So I did a follow-up phone call with her and told her what had happened with the video and people making donations, and I recorded the call. So here it is.
You think I could play it at 1.25 or no?
Yeah, 1.25 is fine.
Let's try it. It'll be good. All right, so here we go. This is the follow-up phone call, and a lot of people who listen to the show were part of the donation, so you might like to hear the follow-up phone call with Ruth. Here we go.
Hello?
Hello, Ruth.
Yes.
Ruth, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
This is David Weiss. I know that you're getting ready for dinner. Do you have a minute to talk?
Just
for like 2 minutes. You remember me from the other day?
Mm-hmm.
We had a little recording. I wanted to tell you what happened. Are you okay? It's all good.
Yes.
Everybody, I put your video up and everybody loved it. It went everywhere. Thousands and thousands of people said that you have made them feel better, that you have made them find God, that your discussion with me has helped them so much that they started they wanted to send you something. So they sent me money, and I have a couple $100 that they want to buy you something, but I don't know what you want, or if you want anything, or what I could get you. Is there anything that you want?
I can't think right now. I don't want to accept.
Would you like me to buy a gift for the nurses on your behalf?
Yes.
Something nice for the nurses. How's that sound?
That sounds good.
Are you interested in hearing some of the comments that people wrote? Some of the comments?
Yes.
Okay, ready? I'll read a couple of the short ones. There's so many long ones. Thank you, David. This video knocked it out of the ballpark. Tell Ruth she is awesome and amazing. I had the same reaction when I discovered that the Earth was flat, level plane. Cheers and all the best to both of you. We love Ruth.
Oh, thank you.
Would you like to hear another one?
Yes.
This one is from Joey. David, she prayed to God one night, where are you? And then God sent her an angel, David Weiss, that helped her see the truth. That's a nice one.
Oh, that's good.
Here's another one. This one is from Gregory. Thank you, Ruth, for sharing your love and wisdom with the world. Love, Gregory from San Diego.
Oh, nice.
Here's another one from Sarah. I'd like to send Ruth some flowers. Thank you for your story and your amazing life. So much to learn from someone like you. Mrs. Ruth, blessings to her and as well to you, David. Thank you.
And that's very nice.
I can keep going if you want to hear a few more. Are you up for it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. This is from Brandon. Hi to Ruth from Michigan. Your interview made my day. I'm so excited to see what today brings. Ruth is an amazing woman. Thank you for letting us share your conversation.
Oh, that's very, very nice.
Yes.
I didn't realize I told the truth. That's about it.
That's what matters, because let me tell you what you did for people. There's now hundreds of thousands, or there's actually millions of us that have discovered that the Earth is flat and stationary. And when we discovered it, when we saw it, we had the same reaction that you had when I told you that you were right, from always knowing that the globe was a lie. And everybody had the same feeling you did. Everybody cried. Oh, by the way, there's 20,000 comments on your video, and I'd probably say 19,000 of them said, I cried when I watched this. You brought 19,000 people to tears, crying with joy.
Oh, my God. Oh, wow.
My video, all of these other channels, they did what's called mirroring it. They downloaded it and they put it on their channel. So now it's on like hundreds of different channels, and it's all over the world, and everybody loves you, and everybody wants to send you things, but I'm not giving out the address or anything because nobody knows where you are except me. So people have been sending donations. I'm going to send a gift for the nurses on your behalf, just to thank you for taking care of me.
Thank you very much.
Does that sound good?
And yeah, I didn't realize that what I was saying was true. That's the way I was taught as a child.
Yeah, and you know what? Now, let me tell you what else is happening. A lot of people are going out and interviewing other people that are near 100 years old, and they're getting the same stories. We're now documenting other people that are your age that have the same memory.
Yes.
People that just suppress this, like, oh, I guess they were wrong. The Earth is a globe, and you kind of forgot about it, even though you didn't trust it.
Yeah.
But now everyone's trying to document it because they were inspired by your story. Very good.
Yes. Thank you.
You have so many. There's 100,000 people sending prayers your way.
Thank you. That's very nice. Yeah, that's very nice. It's very good. Yeah, well, tell the people I thank them.
There's so many comments, I can't even read them all.
Yeah, tell them I love them and thank them for all their thoughts. But I spoke the truth. I spoke how the lights and everything was. I have a good memory of my life, and that's about it.
So there's so many people. There's a lot of like very popular big radio shows that sent me messages saying that they were blown away and they're sharing it on their shows. Every time I turn on a flat Earth show, a research show, everybody's playing your video. They're like, this is the most amazing video of the year. It's the best video I've ever seen because you touched so many people. Their hearts are exploding with love for you.
Thank you. Thank you. I just pray that our future life will be okay. Right?
It will be okay, Ruth. It will be. And you brought joy to so many people you can't even imagine. I can't even tell you how many people you brought joy to. And by the way, I've watched your video that when I was there interviewing you, but I watched it 25 times at least. And every time I watch it, it makes me smile. It makes me happy. It really is such a joyful video. And people are taking the videos and they're editing it and making little shorter clips and they're using it in other videos. It's everywhere. It's amazing.
Oh, it's amazing. Yes, it is amazing.
You're amazing, yes. Ruth. You're amazing.
Thank you. I'm just an old lady trying to get along every day.
Well, let me read you a couple more and then I'll let you go to dinner, okay? You ready? Here's a short one. This one says,
yes.
This is a life-changing and life-altering event. I have no words. What took place here? God was found here. That's nice.
Yes, I hope he was. I need him. We all need him. We need him now.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, God is here all around us, and we all know this. This is an amazing interview, truly amazing. I love you, Ruth. God bless you, and love from London, England.
Oh, that's very nice. Very, very nice.
I'll read you two more, and then I'm going to let you go.
Yes.
Well, that's it for now. How's that? I'm going to let you go, and just know that there's thousands and thousands of people seeing your video every day. They're inspired by it. They're feeling good. One of my good friends who does a lot of research, he was having a rough time. He's having difficult time with his extended family who doesn't like the flat Earth. They give him a lot of trouble about it. And he said when he was feeling really bad that day, and then he saw your video, and it just changed the way he felt that day. And you made so many people's days and weeks and futures, and you've changed history with this interview.
Well, thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. I didn't realize that. Yeah, that's very nice. Thank you so much.
You got it. And
Thank the people.
I will let them know.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
All right, Ruth.
Yes.
Have a nice evening. Talk to you soon.
Yes, you too.
All right. Bye-bye, Ruth.
Bye-bye.
All right, that was awesome, Dave. Good stuff.
That was very beautiful.
That was good to listen to.
Yeah, Notable Zero sent a super chat, says thanks and appreciate that. But that was great, and hopefully people enjoyed that as much as we did. And so, Dave, what you're going to do is send her some flowers, I take it, and then maybe
she doesn't. Flowers are no good for her. She can't see. And the nurses say they're always hungry, so we're going to cater a meal.
Oh, very cool. All right.
Yeah, we're going to have their favorite restaurant deliver lunch.
All right, guys, we're dropping the YouTube feed. We'll be on D Live and TFR Live, and if anybody else is carrying it, you'll find it there. We'll talk to Jason for a little bit, and then we'll take your calls. We'll go anywhere. Jeranism Monday Night Raw.
Stay in school, they said. Use your tools, they.
Hi, my name is Ella, and I'm 10 years old. I'm one of the millions of children born to parents suffering from the sheeple virus. Symptoms include the inability to think for oneself, the attention span of a goldfish, and a strong belief in government and the mainstream media. It is estimated that 1 out of every 2 children are being raised by parents infected with the sheeple virus. But there is a cure. For as little as 19 cents per day, you can become a TFR supporter and help children like me get their daily dose of truth. Together, we will make sure every child has protection from deception.
Speaks. I'm Lisa Lacera, Fox News. Former National Security Advisor John Bolton gave a talk this evening at Duke University, telling the audience he would comply if ordered to appear before Congress.
He said this: I felt I had to make a resolution, what my obligation was and what I will do if I got a subpoena. Biden said he would go if he got a subpoena. If I got one, I would go. Mr. Impeachment Power, Mr. Executive Privilege, meet Mr. First Amendment.
Fox's Kevin Corke in Washington. President Trump had fought to keep some high-level members of his administration from testifying during the impeachment inquiry, claiming executive privilege. Over 300 Americans evacuated from a ship off the coast of Japan, quarantined over fears of the coronavirus, now on 2 military bases in the U.S., and some tested positive.
14 people now known to have the coronavirus, or COVID-19, were flown inside an isolation box. Health officials didn't find out they were positive for the virus until after the entire group was already headed to the airport. One of the flights arrived late Sunday here at Travis Air Force Base in Northern California, while the other landed early Monday at Lackland Air Force Base in Texas. While the 14 infected received treatment, the rest now begin another 2 weeks of isolation on the bases.
Fox's Claudia Cowan at Travis Air Force Base. Denny Hamlin, the winner of the 60-second Daytona 500. The race had been postponed to today after heavy rains yesterday. Hamlin says his thoughts are with driver Ryan Newman, whose car crashed at the checkered flag.
I think we take for granted sometimes how safe the cars are, but number one, we're praying for Ryan.
Hamlin speaking to Fox. Newman had been leading the race as they came off turn 4. His car flipped in the air and came to a stop on its roof. His condition is not yet known. America is listening to Fox News.
This is the Truth Frequency Radio Network. We are TFR. Truth Frequency Radio.
On the weekday, don't be surprised, don't be surprised. Walk like us. They
right, welcome back. You're listening to Jeranism Monday Night Raw. We are on TFR now. We are on D Live. And I do get a lot of people that ask me, why do I drop the show at the end of the first hour? And just, it's in respect to TFR and the wishes of Chris and Cherie Geo. If I had my show in its entirety on YouTube, then people could always find the show and they could find the entire show. And the problem with that is it's not supporting TFR at all. So the hope is that, if you're watching live, the good thing is you can always watch live on YouTube, and then you can go to one of the other channels carrying the second hour, or you can check out D Live. But the reward is for those who watch live. And then after that, I ask those other channels to delete the show after about a week. And the hope is if people want to catch the second half of the show, that they head over to TFR and sign up to get all the archives of all the shows. You can even listen to all the Crow 777 episodes and all the Rob Skiba. There's just tons of people. Susan Lindauer. There's some great shows over there. Definitely the Ironworks from Iron Realm Media and so much more. So anyway, just wanted to explain that. But now we're back. We're with David Weiss. We're with Jason Lindgren. And Jason, you wanted to talk about something I think is very interesting. So floor is yours, my friend.
Thank you. And this is something I know that's been discussed before, but I think it was just kind of one of those random YouTube things where some videos were popping up, or maybe it wasn't. Maybe it was intentional. Who knows? But this whole notion of truther hosts, whatever you want to call them, people who try to put out videos on truth material, doing these insane attack videos, calling people shills and things like that. And I watched a few of them, and there were a few people who did it an awful lot. And the one that really got me worried most recently was just this week, and it was about Matt Landman, who I consider a friend of mine, just like I consider both of you a friend of mine. I know Matt fairly well. I've known him for several years. He actually did a show with me years back before hardly anybody knew who he was. And this video was just beaten over the head that he's this terrible human being. And I'm like, whoa, yeah, Matt's a little bit of a quirky dude, but so what? So am I, And I just don't get it. Like,
aren't we all?
This stuff, right? Where if you're into this, you're probably not your humdrum, run-of-the-mill person anyway. Just going home, drinking beer, and watching football, right? Your brain works in different ways. You're more open-minded to start with, but it just really bothered me. I was like, man, this stuff has got to stop. It's not helping anything. Even if you're a little suspicious that you don't necessarily like someone's message 100%, that does not mean that they're a shill. And I don't even know what the hell that is supposed to mean. I have seen lots of stupid videos of people who barely have any viewers calling out even Crow as a shill. And every time I watch these stupid things, and I haven't done it in a long time, but I have done it, it's like, who and what is he supposed to be shilling for? Right. Like, this doesn't even make sense. Like, what the hell has Crow ever done, just as to use him as an example, that would make you think that he's some kind of evil make-believe James Bond villain? I don't understand this, and I completely invite your guys' thoughts, because I've seen you guys mentioned in these stupid videos. I haven't yet, I guess because I'm, to be perfectly honest, under Crow's wing most of the time, and I think I just kind of get lumped in with him. But I'm sure it'll come if I build up my own name big enough. But what do you guys think about that? Like, in my opinion, it's just not helpful no matter how much. There's only one person, and I don't know if you want me to say it on the air or not, there's only one person in like the entire Flat Earth movement I'm actually suspicious of, and I have good reason, and I think you guys probably are with me on that, at least to some degree or another, but I don't want to speak for you. But what do you guys think about that? Like, especially because new people, Dave and I were talking about this earlier, how many people are coming into this stuff, and whether they're finding out things like 9/11 was an inside job, they're discovering false flags, or they're getting on board with Flat Earth, or whatever it happens to be, they're going to start coming across this crap. And man, that is just not helpful especially when someone is really just trying to learn what's going on for real in the world.
It's not helpful at all, and it's honestly sad. And it's like you said, I think you put it perfectly, that these people are open-minded, and so they have to understand that you're going to be listening to content creators that are themselves open-minded, and they like to throw some things out there. And we all change our opinions constantly, so it doesn't matter if just today you don't agree with somebody. Again, when my buddy came out and said, what about 9/11? Do you it was an inside job? At that moment, I could have called him a shill. What is this guy talking about? This is nonsense. No, but my mind wasn't there yet. I wasn't there yet. And all I look for in content creators, and I wish that everybody were like this, and I don't know, sometimes I've kind of told myself I just have to learn to accept it's not the way it works, is to seek out people that are honest and authentic. And that's what I like about you. That's what, Jason, that's what I like about Dave. That's what I like about Crow. That's what I like about Owen Benjamin. I could go on and list all these people that I have on my channel. Life is Short, Rodrigo Ferrari Nunez, Iru Landucci, one of the most honest, authentic people I've ever met. Bob from Globebusters. These people are as authentic as they get. When you hear them talk, it's their real opinions. And it's so different to me than the mainstream, where anybody talking is basically reading from a script, reading from a teleprompter. They've been told talking points. They've been told what they have to talk about. And it's just so much of a breath of fresh air to know that there's people out there that you can listen to and you can actually hear somebody's honest opinion. And guess what? The good thing is that it's different than yours. That's the great thing, is that you're not going to learn anything. Imagine if we all believed the same things. Well, life would be a miserable joke. You would never talk to each other about what you want to get for dinner. You would go to the restaurant and everybody would order the same thing. There'd only be one thing on the menu because everybody only likes that one item. So it's such a breath of fresh air to know that there's people out there that have brains, that can think in different ways, that can throw things around, that can spitball different topics, and you get the chance of listening to true, authentic people. And then, as I always say, you take the good and you leave the bad. It's okay. Now, the problem becomes when you start getting trashed by these people, because you're just like, wait a second, I've been sitting here taking everything you say, I take it in, I take the good, I leave the bad, until the personal attacks start. And then it's like, man, this is just, I don't know, it's miserable, it's sad. What do you think, Dave?
On mute, as always.
All right.
I totally agree. Most of the channels that do it are little tiny channels, and to even mention them or give it a second thought is a waste of time and energy. The problem comes when a bigger channel that has a following, that puts out some good research, and then puts out these shill videos with very little research, and then they're just unwilling to come to the table to discuss it. So, I just look at it as there's certain people that you aren't going to change. You get a group of people together, there's going to be an asshole in every group, when the group gets big. So ignore the bad, pay attention to the good, bring more good into your life.
And I think you're right that a lot of times it does start on these smaller channels. And I think really the reason for that becomes when people have a desire for views. And it's a very sad thing that if you get caught up in that and your channel's only getting a few hundred views on your shows, what you might think is that, okay, well, if I start talking bad about somebody that's popular, I'll get more views. So what happens is they start talking bad about those channels, and immediately they're going to get more views. It's just the way it goes. People are drawn to drama. They're drawn to nonsense. I don't know why. I mean, if somebody tells me, hey, this channel's talking about you, this channel's, that only tells me, oh, I don't want to watch that channel. It doesn't entice me to, I want to go listen to this. Somebody's calling Crow a shill. Then that's the channel I don't want to go watch, because I think it's ridiculous. Like you said, Jason, what is Crow shilling for?
I don't know.
It doesn't make
What are
any
you shilling for? Like, I've heard you mentioned, and obviously I'm here, and I have a very good reputation in this community. If I thought anything ill of you, by all means, I wouldn't be trying to be on a show with you or be your friend or talk to you at all. I avoid people that I want nothing to do with, and that's that. Like, I just don't understand where this comes from in the first place.
And to me, it's just so easy to tell when somebody's being authentic. I can just hear it in their voice. I know when Crow sits down and Jason, and you listen to a great Crow 777 radio podcast, and you understand that these guys put in the time to research a certain topic, and they're giving you their current opinion of it. And Crow admits it, Jason admits it, I admit it. Our opinions may change, and that's the fantastic thing about listening, is that you listen 2 weeks later and maybe they found something else. Hey, let's go back and talk about this subject again. Maybe they talk about space in a certain way, and then a year later they do another show on it, and you get to hear how everybody's feelings, how their beliefs are evolving. And that's just so much different than when you listen to the mainstream and it's the same old nonsense constantly.
Well, I'll tell you, Crow is a perfect example of things changing. If you go and look at his videos from, goodness, when did he start? I always forget, like 5, 6, 7 years ago now? Like 2013, 14? No, 13. But he says things that he would never say now.
Right.
And you get ding-dongs going, you said this and you said that. It's like, buddy, life moves on. I've done more research. Get over it, It's like, yeah, he used to talk about satellites and all these things that after sitting behind a telescope for God knows how many hours, he's like, no, I remember in 2000, I think it was 16 when he first came out and said, I believe space is most likely some kind of liquid. Mm-hmm. And this is before he and I were totally hooked up. We were just friends and had done a few small things together. I was like, wow, that is a big statement to make publicly. But he did it. But 2 years before, he didn't say that.
And that's because he's being honest with his feelings and authentic with what he believes. And I think, man, I can't even place a value on that. And to imagine a world where that didn't take place, where there was no honest voices out there, where it was just the mainstream, where it was just Ellen DeGeneres, where it was just Neil deGrasse Tyson and Bill Nye, that world would be miserable to me because I know what those guys are going to say. I know what they believe. But I want to hear from people who have different beliefs. And there isn't anybody in the mainstream that's going to come out and have vastly different beliefs. Now, there's a few of them, and sometimes they don't last very long. And they're all of a sudden told, Joe Rogan comes to mind, right? Somebody who, may have had different beliefs, but then he has to be told to get in line. You have to get in line with the mainstream. You can't go too far out. There's a limit to how far your brain can go. Well, on some of these shows, there is no limit. There's no limit for Crow 777. There is no limit for Owen Benjamin. Owen Benjamin is being authentic and honest, and we saw his transformation. We saw what he believed in the beginning. We saw him say, I don't want to be a flat earth person. We saw the transformation. We saw him change his mind. We saw him change his beliefs because of research, because of listening to more people. And that's, to me, worth more than anything. And I just can't understand why people would take that.
But he got deplatformed.
Right. Oh, heaven forbid. I wonder why. I wonder why. It's the people that are honest and authentic and that go out of the box that will be deplatformed. Why? Because they want the world to all believe the same thing. What is easier to control than a population that all has the same beliefs? That's the easiest thing in the world to control.
Yeah.
So it's miserable to hear. And I've just learned to ignore those channels. I have to. And I think the best advice I've gotten from other people is I've had so many people that watch my show. I used to do little attack videos. Say somebody attacks me, some channel. And then I would come back with a video where I would say, oh, well, this person said this and I said this. You just get so caught up in that. And the sad thing is all the people who watch you and appreciate the work that you do actually don't even have time to listen to those other channels. And they don't even listen to them. So that's something I learned by people saying, I would have never heard of that other channel. I would have never known they were talking about you. So we're actually bringing attention sometimes to those other channels because we come out, we say their name, we get in these battles with them. And what is more time consuming than having to respond to people that don't understand you, that don't even speak truthfully about you, and then you come and say, okay, well, here's me defending myself, and this is what they've said, and that's not true. What a waste of time. Yeah, I don't do it anymore.
Yeah, I'm totally with you on that. Now, there is only one person that bothers me a lot, that my spider sense kind of tingles up a storm in the entirety of the flat earth community. I think the rest of them that some people cast a weird eye to, I think it's just that they're quirky people, and that sets them off. And I get it. I'm one of them. I have no problem admitting I'm a super quirky dude, but I try to be authentic, and I think most people do too. Now, if you're going to talk about the larger alternative media kind of thing.
Are you talking about Crow?
Hey, Crow's one of my best friends, but I have no problem admitting that he's a quirky dude. We both are. And
I'm sure you're
talking you. And you know what? I'm glad we're all together in good company. That is the way it should be. It just really bugs me that someone would go out of their way to attack Matt Landman of all people. I'm sure he's not 100% correct about all of his information. Who the hell is?
But none of us are.
Right. But the guy goes out of his way to do so much stuff that to the best of my ability, I have authenticated that this guy has done this crap. And it just bugs me. And I think some of it's sour grapes. I think some of it's jealousy. And to anybody who does those kinds of things, just, hey, take a look at the way you're coming off, because you're going to turn people off by spreading negativity. You know the old saying.
Matt Landman?
What's that?
You want to know a secret?
Sure.
He knows the Earth is not a spinning ball.
That is true. Matt and I have had that discussion. He started, as a matter of fact, with the moon landings, and I watched that happen too, because I've been Matt and I have known each other for probably 5 years now, maybe even 6, and I've watched that guy do more and more and more, and I'm proud of him. I'm really proud of him to see what he's done. We both kind of grew at the same time, so that's it's cool to see. But yeah, Matt is now, if someone he doesn't like go out about it a lot. He's focused on chemtrails and 5G.
No, that's no problem. I have no problem with somebody that focuses on what they want, but they know it. They put it on the side. They don't badmouth it. They don't really comment on it. That's fine. We need people like Matt focusing on other things that are going on.
Yeah, well, it's very important. I mean, come on, the chemtrails thing is just sickening. What you see.
Most people can't see it. It's amazing. The sky will go from blue to white, complete opaque, and people are like, "Oh, it's a beautiful day." I'm like, "What are you looking at?"
And you can see that you can watch the planes go by. They're the same size planes. They go by and they have a little contrail, and it disappears within seconds after the plane passes that location. And then there's the other planes that go from one end of your horizon to the other, and what they creates clouds. And before you know it, there's this huge gray haze over your head. And I mean, how many times can people take time lapses and show you exactly what happens? Then that cloud sweeps over and becomes the sky. And it ain't pretty.
Somebody sent me a picture today, and if I can get it and send it over if you guys want to see it, but someone took a picture, they were in Virginia where they live, of someone, I guess you'd say chemtrailed in the sky, 9/11. It was like a single I, then IX, and then II. I mean, talk about out in the open. Holy cow.
Goodness.
Like, unless that was Photoshopped and he was lying to me, but I always give everybody the benefit of the doubt. It sure as hell looked real.
Wow. I don't doubt it. All right, well, let's take some calls. We said we would do that if people want to get in line, 213-233-3998 if you want to ask us any questions. If you have any comments on either the Great Baldini or the topic that we just discussed, or Ruth, or whatever you want to talk about, let's do it. Let's try and keep them somewhat short since we've kind of cut into the calls by about 20 minutes more than normal. But let's start 616. You've been on hold for 119 minutes, which is longer than... Oh, and they just hung up. All right, good. All right, let's try the second call. You're on with Jeranism Monday Night Raw. Who's this? You've been on hold for as long as the show's been going, 79 minutes. And you're not there. All right, let's go to the 360. I believe that's Dottie. Dottie, what's up? How are you?
Hey, I'm great. How are you guys?
Good. I'm hoping you're not pregnant. Just making sure.
Oh, my God. No, I dodged the bullet on that one. Yeah, it was real close, though.
Dave was worried. All right, what's up? How are you today?
I'm doing great. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. So I'm growing pepper plants and tomato plants in my apartment, and I didn't know that pepper plants flowered, and I came home tonight and one of my pepper plants is flowering, and I'm just like dying with excitement. So I'm glad that I could share that.
Nice.
But I'm supposed to ask Dave about his absurd water routine in the morning, apparently. So, yeah.
Is that the one with the windowsill, Dave? Is that where we're going with this?
Well, I do put my distilled water in blue glass, and I put it on the windowsill, so the light goes through the blue glass, which structures the water. And then I also have a one of those magnetic spinners. So you put a little magnet in a jug of water, and then you put it on this platform, and it spins the magnet, so it spins the water to add energy to the water. And then in the morning, I drink a glass of that with 4 different kinds of iodine and some Restore and some lemon and some apple cider vinegar. And
I want to talk to Iru about what Iru does. Iru's got some ocean water that he adds to, and basically he has somebody that goes down to the ocean and collects water, and he adds a little bit of that to his distilled water. I thought that was an interesting thought. You ever heard of that?
Salt water?
A little salt water, yeah.
Is it maybe for the minerals, because the sea salt is supposed to have a high mineral content?
Yeah, I think so. And it's not like he drinks a whole glass of it, but he adds it to his distilled water, which I thought was an interesting thought. I'll have to talk to him more about that. I think he'll be coming on my show soon, so I will mention it to him maybe on Friday.
So that's my morning routine. I drink that. That kind of flushes out your body, and you start the day. Gives you a lot of energy, alkalizes the body, gives you a lot of the stuff you're missing, and that's it.
That's awesome.
So
where do you get your iodine and other stuff like that? Or...
You can get iodine anywhere, but I actually get it from Sophia Smallstorm. She has a little store, customized, puts nice little packages together with all the items I need. You know, the Restore, the iodine, an alkalizer that I put in my water, and that and other products. So it's SophiaSmallStorm.com.
Awesome. I will definitely check that out. That's great.
And yeah, keep me up to date with how your pepper plants are doing. That's something I've never tried to grow, which is a great idea. It creates them peppercorns that you would then put into some sort of grinder? Is that the plan?
No, it's going to grow bell peppers.
Oh, I thought you were talking about black pepper. Okay, got you.
No, straight up bell peppers. Yeah, they're like this, I don't know, they're like a rainbow mix color pepper. I don't know. I'm kind of like obsessed with growing plants that I've just never seen and never eaten. And
Dottie, you should talk to Rose.
Oh, really?
Oh, super plant lady. I'll have her fill you in.
Oh, cool. Awesome. Yeah.
Conversation.
I just started doing...
You should have Rose on your show, one of your vegetable shows, and you guys talk about that, because I would definitely tune in to hear all that.
Yeah, that would be amazing. Yeah, because I have two plant streams that I did so far, one about tomatoes and one about zucchini, and I'm not positive which one I'm gonna talk about this week. Maybe like I might do my purple tomatillos. I'm super excited to grow those, so I might talk about those. But yeah, that would be wonderful to have Rose on. I'm always in love with plant people. So
she's learned a lot in a very short amount of time, and I'm not going to say on the air why, but once you have a chat with her, you will be like, oh yeah, that makes sense.
Awesome. I love it. All
right, anything else, Donnie, before we let you go?
Yeah, don't forget to pick up the Flat Earth, Sun, Moon, and Zodiac Clock app. It's wonderful.
There you go.
Did Dave make you do that? I think so.
I did not.
That's the girl. There you go.
Oh, she's part of the team already. I love it. Dave, any updates on the app? Well, I guess people should keep an eye out on both of our channels. We have a video coming out this week, which should be awesome, right, Dave?
Yeah, a little update coming up in the next few days. As soon as they're done working on it, it'll go live, hopefully by this weekend.
And we've got some music background played by the one and only Owen Benjamin.
Oh, that was so epic.
Yeah, so that would be fun. So keep an eye out for that video coming to a YouTube channel near you soon. All right, let's see real quick if we can get 587 in. You're on with Jeranism Raw. Rob, what's up?
Hi, guys. David, Aaron.
What's up? How are you?
Good. I have a question. How do you define a day on the level Earth in your thought from just looking at the stars, the sun and the moon? How would you define a day?
Well, to me, the day is the sun returning to where it was, 24 hours earlier. So, it makes a complete circle above my head.
Complete cycle,
and that's your day. But I don't know.
The sun rules the day, the moon rules the night.
That's why we call it the sky clock, my friend.
Yeah, okay, I get it. I understand. I agree 100%. That's what I thought as well. So when you look at how it's moving, and the NLMA is the thing hiding the fact that the sun is not rotating every 24 hours. That's a misconception.
Well, you mean it's 23 hours and 56 minutes?
No, it's not that. That's the other. That's like, that doesn't even come into the picture. It's if you look at the sun, the way I see it, if you go around and you come back to the same spot, the best way is to determine the highest point in the sky. Yeah.
Okay.
So where the shadow is least, basically. So as far as you're above the 23rd degree parallel, it'll be to the north, to the south, directly south. Yeah. And if you're below the lower 23rd, then it's to the north, right?
Right.
So if you look at the anywhere, I've looked at like 10 different locations, and it does not return to the point in 24 hours, and that's the NLMA. They're hiding it because of the NLMA. That's showing you that the speed is different.
But yeah, the problem with it is the sun, goes out to back and forth between the Tropic of Cancer and the Tropic of Capricorn, right? So the fact that it's moving location in the sky is what creates the NLMA.
Yeah, but the issue is that if it was coming back every 24 hours, it would just make a straight line up and down. It doesn't. So if you look at any location, and it's the same whether in the north or the south, the time difference is exact the same. I call it the time dilation. Yeah. If you look in February around this time, it moves slower until sometime in February. Then after February, it starts moving faster, i.e. it completes the circuit in less than 24 hours till November. And it moves 31 minutes. That's the dilemma. Everywhere on the earth is the same. Doesn't matter what latitude you're on.
You know, this relates to something that Sophia pointed out to me. We'll be back.
Extendivite is more than just a heart tonic. Do you have any of these symptoms? Night cramps in the hands and feet. Your arms and legs often go to sleep. On short walks, do your legs get aches and pains? Is your memory worse than it used to be? Ankles that swell late in the day? Has your blood pressure increased lately? If you answered yes to even one of these questions, you may have early warning signs of arterial blockages. Your body is saying that it is time to take Extendivite. These are not the normal signs of aging. They are the warning signs that accompany blocked arteries. Get your Extendivite today. Extendivite is available in capsule or liquid form for just $69.95 for a 2-month supply. To get started, call 1-877-928-8822. That's 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendivite.
Poor water quality is a major health issue, and it's only getting worse. Municipalities can't keep up, standards have dropped, and pollutants are increasing. Where does it all end? It ends by keeping the pollutants outside of your home with HydroCare's advanced systems available at Wave Home Solutions. No less than the best purification materials and processes have been developed by HydroCare to provide you with healthy, clean water for drinking, cooking, and showering. HydroCare far surpasses the competition in removing chlorine, odors, iron, lead, chemicals, limescale, and much more. Don't settle for less when it comes to your water. We'll take care of the toughest water problems for you, whether it's from a city or well source. Satisfaction guaranteed. For more information, call 888-997-WAVE. That's 888-997-WAVE. Or go to bestwater123.com. That's bestwater123.com.
Wave Home Solutions for a healthy, comfortable home.
Hey everyone, it's Mark Sargent from Strange World, broadcasting live every Tuesday evening, 10 to 12 Eastern, 7 to 9 Pacific, right here on Truth Frequency Radio. Strange World covers a wide range of topics, from enclosed world theory to lunar waves to the end of the world in film. It's basically doomsday with a silver lining. With the audience as my co-host, we take an optimistic approach to all things conspiracy and promote confidence, hope, and humor whenever possible. If there's a topic you want us to cover or a guest you would like to see interviewed, please email me at msargent23@comcast.net. So please join me and tell your friends about Truth Frequency Radio, the leader in real radio programming, bringing you quality, cutting-edge broadcasts from around the world.
Real people, real radio. Wherever you are, make it TFR. Truth Frequency Radio.
All right, welcome back. You're listening to Jeranism Raw My wife brought me some cucumber slices during the break. Is there anything better than some cucumbers with some Himalayan salt? Man, I don't think there's anything better. But Dave, you were talking about the caller. Let's bring it back on real quick because I was interested in what you were saying about the 31 minutes. Did anybody else catch that? Go ahead, caller. Tell us one more time.
Okay, yeah. So basically, if you look at it anywhere from February, so I mean, there's the daylight saving also puts it. I just don't even look at 12:01. Yeah. So if you go from February, the solar noon is at 12:39, and where I am. So if you go from into November, the solar noon will become 12:08. So, it's like change 12:08, 12:10, 12:13 even, down to 12:13. So it changes 31 minutes, 30 to 50 anywhere on Earth. So basically what's happening is the sun's angular speed is changing from slower to faster between February to November. So February to November will go faster by seconds, sometimes minutes a day, until it gets to the wherever it is in November, I don't know. And then after that, it starts slowing down, and it takes the rotation in more than 24 hours. So the 24-hour itself is an arbitrary number set up by someone to make the average.
Totally.
And even then, after 4 years, they have to add the 6 hours,
Yeah, appreciate the call. We'll drop you, but I'll let Dave respond to that. But you're absolutely right. The 24 hours is definitely wrong.
Yeah, one thing you can see is in the heliocentric model, if you look at the story is the sun is orbiting around, and on December 21st is the shortest day of the year. So on December 22nd, the sun should rise a little earlier and set a tiny bit later. And as it's working its way around, you should have earlier sunrises and later sunsets all the way to June, where it'll reverse. But that's not what happens. What happens is, at one point, the sunrise will stay at the same time, but then the sunset will happen later. Only one of them starts marching forward. And I kind of equate it to if you had a ball on a string and you're swinging it around, so it's swinging around like at your eye level. Then when you slow it down, it starts coming in. So it is varying speed. That measurement right there, the fact that the sunrises and sunsets don't change equally every day, prove that something is speeding up or slowing down. And if it was the Earth, we would know it.
Jason, what say you? Have any comments on that?
Because we'd all be dead.
Well, actually, I was just texting Crow. I'm going to get with him tomorrow and talk to him about it because I think it's great that people bring these things up, and this is exactly what everyone should be doing. You should be questioning everything.
Right.
I love that people. It makes me smile because people are using their brains. Thank God. But I'm going to see what Crow has to say about that tomorrow. He's actually off to bed, so I couldn't get into a text conversation with him. He hates texting anyway. Go figure. But I may be able to clarify that a little bit with his side of things if you want to discuss that in the future.
Yeah, sounds great. No, I definitely agree that people are looking at those things and bringing them up because, it's like you said, it's always new information. 214, you're on with Jeranism Raw. Who's this?
Hey, guys, it's Dallas. It's Alex. I'm in Dallas. And so this is my question. I recently broke up with my girlfriend a couple months ago, and I've been going on a lot of dates, and so I can't tell the girls I'm a flat earther. So I tell them I'm into Earth, I'm into the sun and moon, and it's unbelievable how little people know about the Earth. This is my question. Have you guys ever asked somebody that didn't know flat Earth or wasn't like some skeptic, hey, do you know how big the Earth is around the equator? And have they ever answered you actually correct 25,000 miles? I mean, has that ever happened? Because not one girl I've talked to has any idea that we're on a 25,000-mile wide ball going 1,000 miles an hour.
First question. First question. Was your girlfriend a baller when you broke up with her?
Yeah, she was a baller, but that's not why we broke up. It just we've been dating too long. The sex was not good anymore.
Hey.
Fair enough.
All right.
Boom. Well, thank God she's not a flat earther and she's not listening to the show.
Yeah, I think that's with belief in the globe. I would be one, if we could do a double-blind test on that, we would find out that flat earthers are far better in bed.
So here's my suggestion. Go to zoomtruth.com, register on the Flat Earth Friend Finder, and look for girls on there.
Yeah, that's pretty smart. And I'm sure flat earth girls, probably get down because they can see through the BS and they know exactly what they want. That's the thing is, like, I'm recently new to truth. I always, when I found out about 9/11 and loose change changed my life. And I know there's inaccuracies in that, obviously, but it's just, being new to truth. I'm 33. It kind of sucks because none of my peers that I talk to about it have any idea what I'm talking about. And so what I talk about is, a lot of what I tell people is I'm kind of into, like, the occult or gematria. And then I tell them about how messed up Disney is, because that people will kind of get into and listen to. But as soon as you start talking about the size of the earth and whether we're moving or the sun's rotating around us, people just look at you like you're an idiot, yet they don't even know what we're on. I mean, it's just such a double standard, and we have to prove everybody wrong, and it's never going to happen. So I just hate it. I feel like we're fighting a waterfall sometimes.
It's tough.
I'll be honest with you, man. After the long-term relationship I had been in quite a few years back now, I stayed single for a long time because it just wasn't worth it to me. Because that's when I first started really picking up and getting into this community and being a host and just putting material out. And I was like, yeah, I'm not tying myself to anybody whose brain doesn't work properly. I mean, just to be as brutally honest about it as possible. So by the time I got together with Rose, I'd already been alone for quite a few years.
Yeah, and if you base it on whether or not they know the size of the Earth or the distance to the sun, I hate to tell you, you're going to be searching for a while. But
so you're telling him that he's in for years of loneliness? Is that what I'm hearing, Jason? and of course he has to be 33.
Yeah, I was it really didn't bug me all that much. I mean, it would be nice. I mean, everybody likes to have a partner, but I was constantly doing stuff, so
staying busy. Yeah, go ahead. Let's finish it off.
I just want to say it just sucks not other people that what we like and what we research every day is so taboo in everybody else's daily life. And it kind of makes me just really upset at the world that I know the truth and I could tell people it, but they wouldn't even listen. It's like Bray Wyatt and the WWE programming. It's right in their face to our kids with this occultic stuff. And we still don't do anything about it because we're just sheep.
There you go, David, WWE. Are you happy?
Can I listen?
Yeah, I'll put you on hold. The Fiend, Bray Wyatt. Yeah, he's somebody who's telling people that you believe everything you're told, and you believe that the Earth's a globe simply because you've been told. Of course, the WWE loves to hide things in its programming. Let's go to 614. You're on with Jeranism Monday Night Raw. Jason, David, what's up?
Hey, what's up, Adam from Columbus? How are you guys?
What's up, Adam?
Hey, got a little. I forgot totally what I called about last week when Owen and Crow and Jason were on. But one thing about Ruth real quick, it makes total sense to me that this is a much younger phenomenon than we have been told, because there's so many holes in it. And as soon as you start looking into it, it makes total sense that it's not 500 years old, that everybody believes the Earth's here. 100 years is more believable. But what I call about quantum conscious, Matt did a video a while back about Elon Musk, and with this new XL coming out, I just heard that with Vince McMahon is prepared to lose $350 million to make the XFL viable. And Elon Musk decided to start a space company that overtook Lockheed Martin and Boeing with only $100 million. If you go by the mainstream side, or mainstream.
That was a great rant he did on the impossible Elon Musk.
The impossible Elon Musk.
right. So $350 million to get a football league going, but $100 million to go take over for NASA.
Doesn't make
sense. That's all I got, but hilarious.
No experience,
Appreciate
nothing.
Yeah, no technical background in that subject at all.
He's the CEO of a tunneling company, a car company, a solar company, taking over NASA and a couple other companies.
Yeah,
no. No.
CEOs working,
That is one lucky dude.
Oh, crazy. All right, let's go to the 970. You're on with Jeranism Raw. Who's this?
Hey, how's it going? This is Brian from Brad Tiberian Chat.
What's up, Brian?
How you guys doing?
Doing good. No complaints.
Cool. I heard you guys talking the other day about the silly broom challenge that was going on.
Right.
But do you guys remember I remember in high school, one of my teachers telling me that you can balance an egg during the equinox. And I remember him doing it, and then I looked it up recently, and it says that that's also a wives' tale, and that
Any day.
you can only do it if the yolk is right in the middle or something like that, and the fat's at the bottom. And that was just one thing that I was like, why the hell would my teacher lie to me like that?
Lots of reasons, just like they told you that water goes down the different directions in the different hemispheres. And
a lot of them believe it, though. They're not lying.
Yeah.
They're not lying. They're just
Yeah, I
misinformed.
was just curious if you guys. Yeah, I was just curious if you guys had any teachers telling you the same thing too. It's just crazy to me.
I don't remember hearing that, but I did see some people talking about it online. That we can also balance an egg. It has nothing to do with the day. You can do it.
I balanced the broom and it stayed up, and then by the next morning it had fallen over.
That's because of the spin of the earth.
Or my cats.
my broom was too worn out to even do it in the first place, so I wasn't able to do it.
All right, thanks, Brian. Appreciate the call. And yeah, I agree. Though it's sad because you hear that, and maybe people are thinking, "Oh, your teachers lied to you." It's not a lie if that's what they were told. That's what they believe. That's what they read in books. That's what they put out to students. It's probably in the lesson plan, to be honest with you.
Well, don't forget now, Jaron, the way they do things with this Common Core crap, they're now teaching from a very specific, what would you call it? Like you're only allowed to teach certain things now. It's quite calibrated to be uniform across the spectrum. So whereas a teacher, maybe back in the 80s when I was in school, was a little more liberal with the way they did things, I don't think that happens these days. I think everything's very controlled.
Oh, I agree. Yeah, it's definitely exactly as it's planned. I don't think you're not allowed to teach outside the curriculum. If you do, again, it's just like a pilot going out, like we've seen the pilot talking about. She thinks the earth is flat. What happens? You get grounded. So if you're a teacher that's teaching it off the curriculum, well, how long are you going to remain a teacher? There's more waiting in the wings, ready to teach exactly what they're told to teach.
Yep, hungry 22-year-olds who just got done with their 4-year degree.
They'll teach whatever you tell them to teach.
Damn right they will for a paycheck because of that massive debt they just got. You see how this system works? I mean, I just rattled that off in 10 seconds. I wasn't even thinking about saying this when I said it, but it's like you see how this system is self-governing.
Right. All the pieces of the puzzle fall into place when you start to look at it. You're just like, oh, well, yeah, that makes sense. That's exactly how they want it to go. You reward the people that do exactly what they're told, and you punish the ones that veer away from the mainstream. So again, when we talked earlier and Dave said, Owen's been deplatformed. Well, yeah, it's just like a teacher who teaches outside the curriculum. You will be deplatformed for doing so. Let's go to 858. You're on with Jeranism Raw. Who's this?
Hey, Jaron. Michael, how you doing?
Hey, Michael.
Hey, I originally was calling in to ask you if anybody there has been listening to Subphotonic and his new research on mountains being giant architecture melted in the hundreds of photos that he's found of what look to be, carved sections of, past civilizations in the sides of these mountains, but then he's showing how potentially a direct energy weapon or a plasma event may have melted them. And just hear you guys' thoughts on that.
All right, appreciate the call. Dave, you want to start on that one? I have not. Oops.
I have not seen his videos, but I've seen a couple other people's videos where they're finding massive buildings like inside of cliffs. So that, were they buried in mud? I don't know. But they're not natural formations. So there was some sort of reset in that area. Don't know, but it's not even questionable. The question is, when was it done? Who built it? And how did it get buried?
Yeah, Jason, you have a comment on that? I don't think people go back very far when you really rewind the clock and look at it, and it could have been from one of these reset events, and there could have been civilizations before. It wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, that's pretty much where I'm at. Like, I can't authenticate what was just said, but the thing is, we do know that things in history have definitely been changed and obfuscated and very possibly wiped clean. So we don't know, but if there were these concepts of beings that were very, very different from us, you could understand why the current power structure would want us to not know and understand that.
Absolutely. Well said. 713, you're on with Jeranism Raw. Who's this?
I'll take a pass, Jaron. Thanks. You guys do a great job. Appreciate it.
Thanks for the call. All right. And how about 616? You're on with Jeranism Raw. 616. Going once, going twice, going 6 times. Going 6 trillion times. How about 734? Are you there? There we go.
Hey, guys. Hey, real quick, just want to say it's my first winter as a flat earther, and watching that sun move to the south of me is like a whole nother thing. It's pretty crazy.
Makes sense, right?
Yeah, it's weird. It's a whole new world out there. But I'm a driver by trade, and so I've been watching the sky for a long time. I've seen the chemtrails and everything going on. I've had time to listen to all kinds of things, become a truther, I guess, for like 12 years now. But my first winter being a flat earther, so it's pretty cool, and I appreciate what you guys do. But I had a quick comment on chemtrails.
Okay.
You guys there?
Yep, go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. So when I'm driving and they're chemtrailing the crap out of the sky, it's usually, well, they're definitely putting it in the path of the sun, and I think we all know that. But it seems to be on days where the sun seems to be like extra powerful and extra white, and I'm not sure what that is. And I think the purpose of them spraying is multifaceted. There's lots of good theories out there, and I hate when people like want to point at one thing, but when I've been driving and they're chemtrailing the sky like that, and I'm driving towards it, like I feel like it's burning me. And I think they're either blocking the sun out because it's powerful, or they might be magnifying it. And I think that with the sun, as we think, being so close and in the firmament, they might be like messing with the sun. Or do you know what I mean? If it's that close and in the firmament, do you think they could be actually messing with the sun and trying to screw it up somehow?
Well, I'll take that one first. Just that makes more sense to me than poisoning. And that's just me saying that. I know a lot of people have their thoughts about chemtrails being poison. It doesn't seem to make a lot of sense to me that the powers that be, unless they've got some sort of pill or some sort of medication that helps them, and that's a possibility too. But the one that does make more sense to me is controlling the weather modification, either, like you said, blocking the sun or magnifying it.
Blocking the energy, the communication, the information that's coming from the heavens above, from the sun, with all of this electromagnetic, metals and frequency.
And then people have to remember, too, that if those paths are up there, the clouds that they put up there that we see during the day, we have to remember that it's just as bad at night. You just don't see it. So it also is blocking the night sky.
Yeah, I've seen some serious chemtrailing here in Louisiana at night. By the way, we also don't know what kind of strange lensing effects all this crazy crap they're dumping in there could be having, too. So saying that on one particular day it might be burning more than another, that could be something like that we just aren't totally aware of.
Yeah, does that make sense, caller?
Yeah.
Thinking.
Yeah. I just wanted to put that out there and see what you guys, if you're sort of on the same page. It's good to know that I'm not alone in thinking this. But yeah, it's pretty crazy, and I've seen some of the videos from the balloons in space, and there's one recently where like it's pretty crappy. Oh well. Balloons not in space, but high altitudes. But the camera was spinning the whole time, but it was a pretty long video. But what I seem to notice in that is that the sun looks like it's right there. And then underneath the sun, like directly underneath the sun, you see the chemtrails. And when the camera spins towards away from the sun, there's no chemtrails. But when it's spinning towards the sun, there's chemtrails for thousands of miles right underneath the sun.
I tend to
crazy to see. And
I tend to think sometimes, though, that is the sun illuminating those chemtrails, right? I mean, there's aluminum in there, there's barium, and there's things that are going to reflect the sun. And so I still think that those chemtrails are still there. Maybe you just don't see them as well because they're not being reflected off of the sun. And that's what I said about night, too. I mean, imagine if they are chemtrailing the sky, wouldn't it make more sense to do more at night? Because we're just not going to see it. You're going to see a plane lights go by, if you even see that, but you're not going to see what we see during the day with these huge clouds becoming spread out clouds, but they're still there at night. And I think they really want to block the night sky from people looking up.
Well, people have said that, like just mainstream astronomy people have said that they can't see as much. By the way, you have to consider the fact that a balloon, the highest they can get is 121,000 feet. I don't think that any jets are going up that high. So if you're seeing those from the balloon's vantage point of 121,000 feet, what are jets going, like 30,000 at the most, 40,000, somewhere in that ballpark? You got to imagine how big those chemtrails must be.
And John...
well, they were underneath the balloon, yeah.
And John, who has been on the show before, John O, does a lot of work with astrology, says they do seem to spray along the ecliptic where the sun and moon circle. So
I saw that myself.
Yeah.
I have video of that. As a matter of fact, we've zoomed in on them. And I don't know if you guys heard the one show. That was the last TFR show we did, actually. Randy from Houston actually took one of the still images I took and blew it up, and it was, I can't remember now if it was United Airlines or it was one of the main airlines. It was their logo on the tail of the planes.
Really?
Yeah, we were all astounded. Like, you could see the red, white, and blue-ish, and then he bounced it over to his computer and then blew it up on his larger screen, and then just did an image search and pulled up. He said, "Here it is, Jason, say this on air. Like, this is it." And it looked exactly like it.
All right. Well, thanks for that call. Appreciate the calls tonight. And there's a couple people we didn't quite get to. Well, just one person. But appreciate you guys calling in as always. And appreciate Jason. Jason, it's been great having you on the show. And come by anytime.
Thank you for having me again, guys. I always love joining you.
And then tell everybody how they can support you, where you're at, how they can catch the Secrets of Saturn Secrets of Saturn podcast and 7 Radio.
Right. So every week I'm with Crow 777 on crow777radio.com, CRROW777radio.com. This week is our 200th episode being released on Thursday. And we're doing the episodes on social engineering through science fiction, starting all the way back in 1818. And we tried really hard to knock this one out of the ballpark. A lot of research went into it. Crow and I took quite a few weeks to do this. And hopefully this 200 episode will really do it. So I'm with Crow every week on the main podcast. And then every Sunday on my Secrets of Saturn YouTube channel, we do Crow 777 live stream. That is 6 p.m. Eastern time every Sunday. And then I do my own live stream with our friend Wayne McCroy every Wednesday, 9 to 11 live stream. Man, I just totally lost my train of thought. On my Secrets of Saturn channel.
I'm happy that you guys are doing the Sunday show at 3 p.m. That gives people a nice little block. What?
9 to 11 Eastern. Did I say that? I'm sorry. My brain flew out of my head for a second there.
No, I was just saying I like the Sunday show because the Sunday show, 3 p.m. Pacific time, is right as Globebusters ends. So it's great to have something to send people to right after the Globebusters show. Turn it over to Crow, and you got your whole Sunday planned. Dave, we just got about a minute left. Anything you got to say before we go?
No, that's it. I'll be missing Raw for the next 2 weeks.
That's right.
And see you guys after that.
Dave's going on vacation, so maybe I'll have Jason with me. Haven't asked him yet, so that's rude of me to imply, but we'll see what's going on.
I think I should be able to do that, yeah.
All right, good. If he's not, believe me, I'll be here, so you'll still have things to catch. And again, my schedule's getting pretty full. Thursdays doing interviews, presentations. Fridays we're doing the Friday Lounge. Sundays we've got Globebusters. Monday we've got Raw. So it's busy. Everybody's staying busy. Lots of things coming up, and appreciate you guys listening. And as always, support the show. It's on the screen right now. You can do so at patreon.com/Jeranism. Lots of people over there. Another one is Globebusters just started their Patreon. I think they only have a few subscribers. So if you like Globebusters, if you watch that show, support Bob, help out the show. And that's patreon.com/globebusters. While you're there, Newer Para Todos has a Patreon. Austin Witsit at Witsit Gets It, patreon.com/Witsit Gets It. Do you guys have a Patreon set up yet? Jason?
No, we don't have a Patreon. You
have the movie.
If you want to support us, the easiest thing would be the movie. Exactly. I forgot to mention that before. Like I said, my brain fell out of my head. Vimeo on demand /Shoot the Moon. That is the film that we did, the documentary about Crow's work, and there's tons of footage in there. That's the easiest way to support us. Go rent that for a week at $7, and that goes right to us, and we appreciate it.
And there's also patreon.com/DITRH, DITRH. Support Dave.
Censorship and regulation is becoming an ever-growing problem in today's modern media. From the mainstream to YouTube and Google, the information you're looking for is buried by official narratives and propaganda. This is why TFR is 100% uncensored, unregulated, and listener-supported. The shows on TFR are not micromanaged by the station, and our hosts are free to speak their minds however they please. As such, the views and opinions expressed on our station are of those who make them. If you happen to hear anything offensive on TFR, please send us an email to toughtitty@tfrlive.com, and we'll be happy to tell you that we really don't give a damn. We stand for freedom of speech and non-censorship. If you also stand for free speech, you can go to tfrlive.com/signup and sign up for a TFR supporter pass and help us in our mission to keep the airwaves uncensored and unregulated. TFR Live, your uncensored and unregulated protection from deception.
Keeping an eye on the virus. I'm Lisa Lacera, Fox News. Americans who had been on a cruise in Asia now in quarantine in the U.S. after the coronavirus outbreak.
More than 300 Americans were aboard the Diamond Princess, 14 of whom have tested positive for coronavirus. They were brought by aircraft to bases in California and Texas and quarantined. According to Dr. William Walters of the State Department, some of those patients needed more intense care.
High-risk patients were transported onward from both locations using those same aircraft to Omaha, Nebraska for care at the University of Nebraska.
The State Department continues to track dozens of Americans still in Japan and more than 200 traveling in Cambodia that have been exposed to the virus.
Fox's Colonel Scott. Officials in China say 1,868 people have died from the virus, with over 72,000 now infected, and the Beijing Auto Show being postponed due to the virus. Tonight's Daytona 500 marred by a horrific crash.
Denny Hamlin may have won the 60-second running of the Daytona 500, but that was not the major storyline after a last-lap crash involving Ryan Newman that sent his car flying airborne, sparks and fire engulfing the vehicle in Turn 1 when it came to rest. Emergency crews quickly surrounded the vehicle as it came to a rest, extracting Newman from the car. No word as to what his condition was. Officials only saying that Newman was taken to a local hospital in Daytona Beach. Newman was in quest for his first win in the Great American Race since 2008.
Fox's Matt Napolitano. A small plane has crashed at the Central North Carolina airport, sending 4 people, 3 of them students, to the hospital. The Cessna 172 crashed shortly before 2 p.m. in a field shortly after takeoff at Grays Creek Airport, south of Fayetteville. The National Transportation Safety Board will investigate the cause of that crash. America is listening to Fox News.
If you don't know your numbers, you don't know your business.
Into the
Most companies don't have a
We are TFR. TFR.
Truth Frequency Radio.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Truth Frequency Radio. You are now listening to The Matrix Unveiled. So I'm just waiting for my intro on TFR, and then I'll get started on here. Just letting you guys know. It's got to sync up, that's why. Intro music is playing.